When you hear the word unicorn, something very specific happens in your head, not a creature. A feeling, magic, wishes, soft colors, rainbows, a world where nothing is allowed to be dangerous. You think of the last unicorn. You think of My Little Pony. You think of glowing horns, gentle eyes, and stories where nothing truly bad is allowed to happen. For most of us, the unicorn is a childhood animal, pure, innocent, safe. And that version of the unicorn feels ancient, like it has always been that way. It hasn't. That soft, glowing fantasy unicorn is actually new, very new. It was created by modern culture, by animation studios, toy companies, storybooks, and branding. And don't get me wrong, those stories are beautiful. They built entire worlds of imagination. They gave us something gentle to believe in. But they are not the original unicorn. Because before unicorns were cute, they were feared. Before they were magical, they were dangerous. For most of history, unicorns were not treated as fantasy creatures. They were treated as real animals, wild, violent, extremely powerful, hard to catch. People believed they could kill you just as easily as they could heal you. They were hunted. Their horns were traded. Their bodies were believed to cure poison and plague. This was not a bedtime story. This was life and death. And once you understand what people really thought unicorns were, this soft, glowing fantasy will never look the same again. When ancient people spoke about unicorns, they weren't talking about fairy tales. They were talking about animals. Greek writers like Ctesias claimed unicorns lived in India. He described red fur, a long, multicolored horn, a body strong enough to outrun horses, fast enough to escape hunters by leaping off cliffs, landing on its horn, and walking away unharmed. That sounds impossible now, but back then, that was how biology worked. In Persia, they spoke of the karkadan, a thick-skinned beast, more like a rhinoceros than a horse, violent, territorial, and capable of killing elephants. In China, the shilin appeared, a sacred animal, sometimes deer-like, sometimes dragon-like, often with a single horn, linked to emperors and omens. In Byzantium, the shadavar was described, a unicorn with a hollow horn, 42 openings, that played flute like music in the wind. None of these creatures looked the same, but all of them shared one thing, a single horn. And here's what matters. This wasn't fantasy. This was how information traveled. Stories moved along the Silk Road. Merchants told travelers. Travelers told scholars. Scholars wrote it down. Frank said he saw this thing. Was how the world worked. People argued over the unicorn like scientists argue today. How big was it? What color was it? Did it have hooves or claws? Did it live in forests, deserts, or mountains? This wasn't stupidity. This was pre-modern science. They were working with fragments, with bad maps, with second-hand sightings. The unicorn didn't survive because it was magical. It survived because it was plausible. The unicorn wasn't imaginary. It was unresolved. When scholars like Chris Lavers traced unicorn reports through centuries of European and Asian records, they found something disturbing. The unicorn was never a single creature. It was a shifting attempt to explain something no one could fully see. By the 16th century, Europe was sick. Plague, poison, rotting water, silent assassins in wine cups. People didn't just fear death, they expected it. And in that world, the unicorn became a medical device. Its horn was said to cure illness, neutralize poison, detect toxins. Kings drank from unicorn horn cups, believing if poison touched the liquid, the horn would sweat. Imagine that, your life, resting on a piece of bone. Unicorn horn powder was sold as medicine, ground up, mixed into drinks, swallowed by people who were desperate and dying. To the wealthy, it was protection. To the poor, it was hope. The unicorn wasn't a fantasy creature. It was an insurance policy, and that made it worth everything. Some horns were valued higher than gold, more than land, more than armies. But here is where the truth breaks through. Most of those horns were not unicorn. They were narwhal tusks, long spiral teeth from Arctic whales, sold to people who had never seen the sea. And the powder was often just crushed bone. No magic, no cure, just dust. It was one of the largest medical frauds in European history. And yet, people kept buying, not because they were stupid, because they were afraid. When you're dying, when poison is everywhere, when your child is coughing blood, you don't ask for proof, you ask for anything. The unicorn didn't survive because it was true. It survived because people were terrified. In a candlelit room, a sick noble lay still. Sweat ran down his face. His breath was slow, then fast, then slow again. A doctor stood nearby, whispering prayers. His wife held a silver cup. It was made from what she believed was a unicorn horn. They believed it could stop poison. They believed it could stop death. Right now, belief was all they had. Outside the palace, a paranoid king refused to drink, not until his horn cup was placed in front of him. Servants waited. No one moved. He lifted the cup slowly, watching. If the horn began to sweat, it meant poison. One drop could mean assassination. In that world, trust was dead. Down the street, a merchant sold small jars of white powder. "Unicorn horn?" he said. Mothers bought it. Fathers begged for it. Children coughed behind them. They paid with coins, with rings, with their last bread. The merchant knew it was just crushed bone, but fear paid better than truth. In a dark home, a dying family mixed the powder with water. Their child burned with fever. They held the cup to his lips and prayed. No one thought about stories. They thought about breathing, about heartbeat, about making it through the night. The noble prayed. The king watched. The merchant counted. The family hoped. This was not fantasy. This was life and death. The horn was not magic. It was a last chance. And when you are afraid enough, even a lie feels like hope. In the medieval Bible, one small mistake did something huge. A single word, reum, was supposed to mean a wild ox, but in Greek and Latin translations, it shifted into one-horned. And once it landed there, it stuck. Now the unicorn wasn't just a rumor from travelers. It was in scripture. That changed everything. If a creature lives inside holy text, you don't question it easily. You repeat it. You copy it. You paint it. And when artists painted it, they had to make it look pure. So the unicorn turned white. The horn became perfectly centered. The face became calm. Not because anyone proved it, but because symbolism demanded it. Then the virgin imagery entered, and it wasn't romance. It was control. The story said the unicorn could only be stopped by purity, so danger became obedience. A wild animal became a moral lesson. Look at medieval art and manuscripts. You start seeing the same unicorn again and again. Same posture, same gentle eye, same clean body. The image freezes into a template. From there, people stopped picturing blood and muscle. They pictured blessing. If the unicorn cured poison, it was God's tool. If it killed, that part was quietly edited out, like a stain. That's what sanitization looks like. Meaning replaces threat. A weapon becomes a symbol. And once a creature is holy, it has to be safe enough to carry belief. The monster didn't disappear. It got rebranded. Not by marketers first, by religion, ink, and repetition. The unicorn does not vanish in a blaze of revelation. It fails quietly, under measurement. By the 17th century, belief in unicorns had begun to thin, not disappear, thin. By the 1600s and 1700s, the educated world no longer encountered unicorns as living animals, but as problems, as contradictions, as things that had to be explained away or rebuilt in cabinets and diagrams. What had once been assumed now required defense. As anatomical study advances, a problem becomes impossible to ignore. A single horn placed at the center of a mammalian skull creates structural contradictions. There is no clean way to anchor it without compromising the brain case. No surviving skull can support the weight, blood supply, and torque such a structure would require. This is not ridicule. It is accounting. During the Enlightenment, belief does not disappear. It panics. Scholars attempt to save the unicorn by rebuilding it. Otto von Guericke assembles the so-called Magdeburg unicorn, stitching together fossilized bones into a creature that technically satisfies the description. It convinces no one. It looks forced, unstable, wrong. Still, the effort matters. Horn merchants continue their trade. Narwhal tusks are reshaped. Powder is sold. Relics circulate. Cabinets of curiosity fill with fabricated remains. The body of the unicorn is not disproven. It is propped up. Because the alternative is unbearable. Science does not kill the unicorn by declaring it false. It does something far more final. It removes the body entirely. It strips the myth of physical credibility and leaves only narrative behind. Once the unicorn can no longer exist as an organism, it cannot be hunted, it cannot be dissected, it cannot be owned as matter. And without a body, it has to change purpose. The unicorn does not retreat into fantasy because humans grow wiser. It retreats because there is nowhere left to put it in the world of flesh. So it becomes something else. Not an animal, not evidence, but a feeling. And that is where it survives. Today, the unicorn doesn't live in forests. It lives on shelves. In the 1980s, Lisa Frank covered it in neon colours: pink, blue, rainbow, glitter. The unicorn became something you could buy, not to heal you, but to make you feel something. It went on stickers, school folders, cereal boxes, pillows, phone cases. Everywhere you looked, the same creature. Still called rare, still called special, but now printed 1,000,000 times. This is the same pattern as before. Back then, people bought horn powder to feel safe. Now people buy unicorn products to feel happy. The hunger didn't go away, only the packaging changed. Even NFTs copied this logic. A digital unicorn. A token that says, you own something unique, but the image can be copied forever. So what are you really buying? Not the thing, the feeling of owning it. That is what the unicorn has become, an emotional product, a promise that you are special, even in a crowd. Corporations understand this very well. They don't sell the animal. They sell the idea of magic. They sell nostalgia. They sell a soft dream you can hold for a moment. The unicorn is no longer used to cure poison. It is used to cure emptiness. The hunt is still happening. It just looks cleaner now. No blood, no bones, just shelves and shopping carts, and something inside us saying, maybe this one will finally make me feel whole. The unicorn did not disappear. It was rebranded, not erased. In the Victorian era, artists and writers began to soften it. They painted it white. They made it gentle. They wrapped it in romance and longing. This was Victorian romanticism at work, turning danger into beauty and fear into something safe enough to love. Later came stories like The Last Unicorn, a lonely creature, not violent, not feared, just sad, just searching for connection. That story did something powerful. It made the unicorn emotional instead of physical. And once it lived in emotion, it could never go back to being wild. Now look at the unicorn we have today. Cute, harmless, soft. A children's toy. A logo. A cartoon with big eyes and a small horn. No blood, no bones, no danger. But that is not because the old unicorn was wrong. It is because the old unicorn was too hard to hold. It carried sickness, greed, religion, science, death. So we changed it. We cleaned it. We sold it. This is what humans do. We take something strange and make it small. We take something powerful and make it safe. We take wonder and turn it into a product. And every time we do that, something is lost. Not loudly, not in flames, but quietly, like a memory fading. The unicorn still survives, but not as it once was. The unicorn is humanity's most adaptable myth, misunderstood as real, exploited for profit, purified by religion, disproven by science, and reborn as fantasy. And in that journey, we can see ourselves. If this story changed the way you see unicorns, even just a little, then that's what Lore Unlocked is about. We take familiar stories and slowly pull them apart until what was hidden starts to show. If you want more of that, subscribe to Lore Unlocked. And tell me in the comments what you thought about this episode. What part stayed with you the most? Also tell me which myth we should open next. See you next week. Until then, stay curious and don't stop questioning the stories you were given.